can tell you people they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. And time is of the essence today, I fear, because I have an appointment and a limited length of time, a very tight schedule, let's put it that way. So if I may, I am going to, without further ado, plunge right in and let's rock and roll. But before starting, again, I would like to thank everybody for their wonderful birthday wishes. Also, the people who congratulated me on my son's bar, and I will read one of the comments. It's from Kathleen W. Happy birthday, Lady Colin. Also, I must mention the lovely article in the Daily Mail today about the bar you have acquired in Worthing. Great photo. You look amazing. Thank you. Good luck to Misha with running the bar. I will pop in and drink a toast to thank you for your excellent videos. Please do. May I say, yes, it was a very good picture of me, I thought, very flattering. But of course, it's not my bar. I mean, newspapers do egg the pudding. You know, it's not my bar. It's my son Misha's bar. I simply backed him in it. And the only thing I rarely did was choose and hang the pictures in the bar. And if you'd like, I can post a short video, maybe early next week, about the bar and the opening. It will be short and sweet, but it gives anybody who's interested insight into it. But it's Misha's creation, it's not mine. For instance, the name Roots is not my choice, it's Misha's. Everything pretty much is Misha's choice. So without further ado, I will now plunge in with the first question, which is from Liz Varnish. Hi, Lady C. Do you think the Cambridges will ever allow Meghan around Princess Charlotte again? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, they'd be very stupid if they knew that an aunt by marriage had crossed swords with a 3-year-old before she was even 3 and welcome her with open arms. My understanding is, and I think I've got that point across time and again in these videos, is that both William and Catherine have Meghan and Harry's measure, because Meghan and Harry are a double act. The title of my book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story, was originally going to be Operating at the Highest Level, the Meghan and Harry double act. They are operators. They are players. People like the Cambridges, and indeed people like me, do not really like or approve of operators and players. In fact, I know very few people on the right side of the acceptable divide who actually have anything but caution, suspicion, and wariness for players and operators. You know, I think I've also tried to get across the point that not only do William and Catherine have Meghan's measure and Harry's, who is complicit in all of this. Whether he has been held hostage, tied up, as they say in Jamaica, by the pum-pum hairs, or for some other, and I suspect strong psychological reason as well, although I think without the carnality aspect of it all, it might have been a different story. But, you know, it's, as all women know, a weak man who is extremely physically attracted to a dominating woman will surrender both heads at the same time. What does that mean in terms of allowing Charlotte with Harry and Meghan? Well, not Harry. Harry's not the problem there. They don't distrust Harry. Not, I hasten to add, that I'm saying that they would distrust Meghan. And I make that point for legal reasons. I wouldn't for a second suggest they have any grounds to distrust her. But putting the legalities aside, they certainly have a lot of grounds for wariness where she is concerned. That, I think, one can safely say legally. My understanding, as I have said time and again, is that this was one of the Damascene moments for the Cambridges. To see Meghan in operation and to see their daughter's distress. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Insofar as I'm aware, little Charlotte didn't make the last recital or the dress fitting. You know, effectively, the relationship between William and Harry and Catherine, to a lesser extent, and Harry, has been altered beyond all recognition. And I'm afraid when they tried to pick up back the vase that had been smashed, some of the pieces were missing. It not only doesn't hold water anymore, but it isn't very attractive to look at. They are not having that broken vase on display. Is that a figure of speech that people can understand? Because basically, I'm saying very simply, the relationship as it was is over, and no matter all the false hopes, it's never going to be the same ever again. And if you hear any different from anybody, take it from me, they are chatting rubbish. Deb Bailey says, it's folly ado at its sickest. Deb Bailey, that is your opinion. You're entitled to it. There are many people who know them very well and know what's going on and know the tremendously destructive effects their conduct, especially her conduct, has had upon the royal family and the Commonwealth. And since there is no healthy, rational explanation for a couple that gets together supposedly in love but in hatred and destructiveness and self-will and really a very untoward attitudes have caused such havoc. There is no rational explanation beyond that there is something really wrong with each of them, and that it is a folie à deux at its sickest level. I know Meghan and Harry's supporters would disagree, and I know Meghan will certainly disagree, because there's nothing wrong with her. It's the world. She's got to put the world to rights. She's going to, one plane journey at a time, she's going to change the world. Yes, she is. The thing is, she doesn't understand pointless change is sick. Ineffective change is destabilizing. And it takes a particular sort of arrogance and delusionalism for a third-rate hustler and fourth-rate ensemble player in a minor cable television series to think that she is so knowledgeable, so potent, so everything, that she could sail into a 1,000-year institution, completely turn it upside down, and that would be a positive thing to do. Of course, positive for an egotist who thinks that she should be in control. But in reality, folie à deux at its sickest. I agree. And I'll tell you better, medical people that I speak to agree. So I would actually love it if Harry and Meghan decided that they're going to prove that what I've just said is defamatory, because I'll see them in court. Gosh, I cannot imagine the delights as one deposed them. Depose in a legal deposition, with the result of which that they would be deposed from popular life and public life ad infinitum. Gail Martinson says, why are Harry and Meghan coming back in September to attend these ceremonies and give speeches? I thought they were out, just trying to stay in the spotlight, I imagine. Who will pay for them, and why are they staying at Frogmore? Because it's still theirs? I thought one of Fergie's daughters lived there. Gail Martinson, one of Fergie's daughters, did live there, but she is now dividing her time between London and Portugal. They live there because that is his official residence. Unless he has that as his official residence and he is domiciled in Britain, he would not be able to remain a councillor of state, and he would be exposed to all sorts of disadvantageous tax situations. And Uncle Sam is a greedy monster. Uncle Sam is the greediest taxman on earth, closely followed by Le Fisc in France. Why are they coming back in September? And you thought they were out? Because they have ignored the Queen's injunction that they could not be half in and half out. They have created half in and half out. And they are trying to create through legal channels the financial support of being half in and half out. It's Meghan's a player, Meghan's an operator. Harry never used to be, but now he obviously is. They know how to hustle those buns and work their way around the system, twist and bend, twist and bend. Maybe finally we will rend. They're going to rend the item as they can and render it, if I may be so bold as to pun. They need to be in the spotlight. They have been deprived of a royal platform, so they are creating an alternative royal platform. Their message at all times is, we are the royals representing royalty based in the United States with access to global, remember they keep on using that word, global affairs. I gather that Harry and Meghan's attitude is, let the family take Britain and the Commonwealth. We'll have everywhere else, and then we'll also muscle in on Britain and the Commonwealth. They are coming back to pretend that they are still functioning royals. They are coming back to hawk their wares for America. This is not for Britain. They are simply and brazenly using us, the British, and the Germans in Dusseldorf with Invictus Games, which is a British creation. Harry's basic idea, which, as we all know, was inspired by, some people would be unkind and say, stolen from the Warrior Games in America, but not set up by him in toto. He had a small part to play, and we need to give credit where it's due. But that's also basically originating in Britain. So Harry is using charity, Meghan is using charity to reaffirm their status, their royal status, as if they were royals. It's called two fingers to Her Majesty the Queen and anybody who said you can't be half in and half out. They are showing they can be half in and half out, just not officially sanctioned. But if they can work it properly, they will get it to be paid for officially. And who's paying for these trips? Well, you can depend on it. Since Archie Wells' income was only $50,000, Meghan and Harry will have found a way with Netflix, who will get coverage, of finding a way of pushing their hands in everybody else's pockets. Clever business people, and I use the word clever in its pejorative meaning, always find a way of making someone else pay for the profits they intend to make. Something I do not entirely agree with. And I come from a business family, and there is another way of conducting business where you expose yourself to the risk. But then again, I was brought up to be honourable, not to be clever. And there I give full credit to both my parents, especially my father, but my mother as well. Eleanor H. says, hello, Lady C. Stunning, big block capitals, as usual, exclamation mark. Thank you very much, my dear. I am reading out and enjoying these comments, not only for myself, but every other 73-year-old who can get a compliment. I think it's quite wonderful when women of our age compliment each other. And so, although I have to tell you, it appeals to my vanity, it also appeals to my desire to share with all of you who are my age, who take care of your appearance. I actually think it's just a matter of self-respect. But we won't believe at that point. I will continue reading out. Thank you for your latest update on M and H. I am very, very angry with them and what they have done to our Queen. As far as I am concerned, Harry has his grandfather's and the Queen's blood on his hands. Blood on his hands in big block capitals with exclamation marks following. Eleanor H., you have no idea how close you are to the literal fact and the literal truth. You have no idea. I don't want to say more than that. I do not want to violate confidences. I do not want to invade anyone's privacy. I certainly don't want to share information that others would prefer remain private. But you are so close to the literal truth, you have no idea. And one of these days, you will find out the significance of what I'm saying and the significance of what you have written. Good taste prevents me from saying any more than this. But I will say, I think when the denouement comes, Harry and Meghan will be finished for all time. Like anybody who knows how to spell the word decent, anybody who has respect for their elders, anybody who understands that all families have issues, but you do not capitalize upon them to the detriment and well-being and the destruction of the health of other loved ones for your financial enrichment and the satisfaction of your endless greed for attention and publicity. I think I've said more than enough, and at this point I am not prepared to say any more. Zero Fox says, it's amazing that Harry left while his grandmother is alive. He says he has so much love and respect for her. Why put her through this at this time of her life? He should be concentrating on helping her. Zero Fox, I couldn't agree more. And it's a very bitter laugh that I'm indulging in. But you know, when you are tied up, as the Jamaicans would put it, by the pum-pum hairs, or as Donald Trump put it, when you are meow-whipped, and you basically are virtually educationally subnormal with serious emotional and personality issues, and you fall into the clutches, or shall I say the perpetual clutch, the marble claw, when you fall into the clutches of somebody who is so patently, overtly, flagrantly, and unapologetically self-aggrandizing, and that person is furious because you can't make her greater than others in your family who are naturally greater than she is, and who decides she's going to move operations across the Atlantic, not only to indulge her monumental ego and lust for attention, approbation, and being number one, the greatest star in the constellation. I actually said all of that in my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story. And what I said has turned out, by their actions, to have been not only accurate, but actually very modestly put. Does he have a choice? Yes, he does. Does a heroin addict have a choice? Yes, he does. Does an alcohol addict have a choice? Yes, he does. He can either give up the substance to which he is addicted, or he can keep on being in the thrall and control of the substance, enjoying the benefits that accrue to him, as well as paying the price of those that don't accrue to him positively. I've never heard of a heroin addict or an alcoholic who put a loved one before satisfying their addiction. When you are addicted to a substance, it alters you. It alters your mood. It alters your biochemistry. It alters the way you think, feel, function. But there's not a second person in there. When you are addicted to a person, you don't only have two people in the equation, one of whom is busy having the same effect upon the addict that the substance would have, but they have the additional advantage, if advantage is the right word, of being able to recalibrate and have a greater effect upon the thinking processes, the emotional well-being, and the behaviour, and a more immediate effect than a substance would have. Being addicted to people who are negative is truly one of the most frightening phenomena psychologically. Obviously, as Harry has always said, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets, and he is her facilitator. He is her enabler. She wanted to trash the royal family. She has. She wanted to leave. They have. Does he care about his grandmother. I suppose a little bit of him still does. Is that little bit going to be enough to preserve her, his grandmother, from the enormity of what he has already done to her and her life's work and her loved ones, chief of which was the Duke of Edinburgh? But let's make no mistake about it, her life's work has been this nation and the Commonwealth, and he and Meghan have already damaged that. Hopefully not irretrievably, but they certainly have damaged it. He's like all addicts. He's put this matter to which he is addicted above decency and all the positives that addicts surrender every time they or kissy kissy boo boos. George Leshar says, my question is, which interview of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle was the most hurtful to the Queen? The one done in Africa or the Oprah one? I don't know if there were others. I just wonder because I have found a bit of a similar situation. I was also wondering if she knew in her heart and soul that this was coming. Did she have a premonition of it? George Leshar, my understanding is she had no premonition of what was coming. No one did. It struck them like a bolt out of the blue. They never thought that Harry or indeed Meghan would be capable of the conduct to which they have resorted, or to make the accusations that they have made, or to share the variable remembrances that they have shared flagrantly. My understanding is that the Oprah interview was Harry's equivalent of Diana's Martin Bashir interview. And while we can now let Diana slightly off the hook, because she was induced by, and corrupted is the right word, by a lying crook, because that's what he was. And if he doesn't like me, sue me, Martin Bashir. I'll see you in court. Nobody has corrupted Harry and Meghan except themselves. Nobody has lied to Meghan except Meghan. And nobody has lied to Harry except Meghan. And possibly himself in his desperation to appease that to which he is or has been pathetically hooked. No, my understanding is no one in the royal family saw what was coming. It was a bolt out of the blue. Susan Cunningham says, I think there is a subtle, well, maybe not so subtle, racist agenda with many people who support Meg the Keg. She certainly is a keg. Come what may, no matter how awful Meghan Markle's behaviour and on the makeness she shows, you know, blindly backing M. Shouty Dr. Scholler also comes to mind. But I have a feeling I've met Dr. Scholler. I could be wrong. I could be confusing her with someone else. But I think I met her. recently at something that the Jamaican High Commission put on, but I could be confusing her with someone else. I'm not that good on names socially. Unless I meet people repeatedly, I meet so many people, I really can't remember them all, I'm sorry, with the best will in the world. But I have looked into Dr. Scholler, and I've looked into one or two other people of colour, and they really have suspended all judgment and all discernment in terms of supporting the sister. I'm sorry. A murderess is a murderess is a murderess. A thief is a thief is a thief. A liar is a liar is a liar. A rose is a rose is a rose. An angel is an angel is an angel. And just because the rose is black, let's say orchid. An orchid is an orchid is an orchid. Better, I don't know that you have black roses. Just because the orchid is black doesn't mean that it has ceased to be an orchid and has become a panacea along the lines of the Delphic oracle. Yes, there is a racist element, and a very disturbing racist element, that Meghan has deliberately played upon. And there are an awful lot of people who go along with that hypothesis and that position. And it is wrong, it is dangerous, it is destructive, and it is very little about their powers of discernment or their true understanding of right and wrong. And that is my considered opinion. Jane Gudsell says, hasn't the royal family realized that we have had enough of that awful pair? We need protection from the royal institution from that pair. Jane Gudsell, let me tell you something. I've tried to make this point before. There are things going on behind the scenes that I cannot speak about. The royal family is doing all it reasonably can while respecting the rights of others and the constraints not only placed upon them as an institution and a national institution representing all the people within the nation, but also in terms of the health and well-being of the people involved. These are all huge issues, not all of which can be conveyed publicly. You can't expect anybody to be shorn of all their vestments to satisfy the curiosity or the misunderstanding of those who could give them a bit of more trust than they're giving them, and appreciate the fact that decent people go about things in a decent way, and that sometimes the immediate knockout punch, much as you would like to see it and possibly be a part of it, is not feasible, is not possible. I hope that answers the question. And now I would like to make one or two little points about H's visit to Mozambique, because there H is visiting Mozambique on his own, where he used to go with Chelsea Davy. This is yet more proof of Meghan and Harry's master plan of being the international representatives of royalty throughout the world, without the constraints of royalty, with the possibilities of using their royal position and their supposed charity posturings to enhance their earning capacity and enrich themselves commercially. Harry and Meghan have turned out to be, in some quarters, it's regarded as great nuisances. But most people in the know do not consider them to be quite as dangerous as the public might consider them to be, because Harry and Meghan are basically screw-up merchants. Everything they do exposes their transparent need for attention, approbation, and ever-increasing wealth and stature. Margaret Maisie says, their overblown security demands will start to eventually be necessary because they are creating the threat to their safety by their bad conduct. Yet, again, somebody has wonderfully hit the nail on the head. You're absolutely right, my dear. But it's not our problem. It's not the British people's problem. It's not the British royal family's problem. If you are badly behaved and you have earned the right to be a target, it's not up to the British taxpayer or Ravik or any member of the British establishment to preserve you from that fate which you might deserve or have sought or are in danger of. They will have to sort out their own security, which I think is fine. But I do not for a second believe that they are actually in danger of anything from anybody, because their nuisance value isn't the nuisance value that true nutcases will act upon. Their nuisance value is the nuisance value that deplores, debauches in terms of taking away the positivity, entertains at the same time, and at the end of the day proves that they are basically insignificant. They're not really dangers to anybody but themselves and the institution of the British monarchy. And as their bad behaviour continues, more and more people realise this. Pat M says, our president just employed 85,000 IRS agents with guns to go after tax evaders. Yes, I gather Megsy Baby and H are being investigated by Uncle Sam, the IRS. Oh dear. Mickey, come and console Marty. Marty's distraught on Megsy Baby's behalf. All those hundreds of millions of dollars that she says that she's earned. And Uncle Sam believes it. How dare Uncle Sam believe it? Nobody else does except her followers. Well, I will say quite seriously, as somebody who does care about the state of the world and has done a fair amount of reading on various subjects that affect the state of the world in my lifetime, and was fortunate enough to come from a family that produced various ministers of government in various countries and various leading members of the legal profession, etc., etc. I have grave concerns, and have had for some considerable length of time, about the rate at which the American people are taxed by the American government. The American people are taxed more highly than practically any, if not any other nation on earth. The reason for this is the maintenance of the American socio-economic and political system, which Eisenhower warned against. President Eisenhower warned against it in his farewell speech to the nation in January 1961, when he was stepping down as president, double president of the United States of America. Americans need to understand that there is something fundamentally disturbing about the high rate of taxes they pay and where their tax money is going to. Both political parties have perpetuated that which President Eisenhower warned against. The 85,000 IRS agents with guns, it says, would be better off maybe going after Meg's baby and H if they need to be gone after, but otherwise, America is in need of changing some of its attitudes and behavior at a most fundamental level. 1961 to now is over 60 years, and the situation has continued. And the reason why is the perpetuation of the military-industrial political complex. So, I think I've made my position clear there. And I think on that note, rather contentious note, I'm sorry, and by the way, I hope for Americans listening, you understand, I'm not criticizing the people of America, and I'm not criticizing the concept of democracy, and I'm not criticizing the two-party system. I am criticizing what Eisenhower warned against. As simple as that. And I think you, the American people, should make your voices heard, because this is a problem that not only affects you tax-wise and your way of life, it affects everybody all over the world, because there is a knock-on effect internationally, which is very concerning. I don't have any great deal of hope that anything is going to be done, but I say it for what it's worth. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions and comments coming in. Remember, this cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.